up. So thank you very much for coming to this session. Today, the subject of our discussion is developing and using OER in Africa, lesson learned from the African Virtual University. Welcome to those who are in this room. I don't know how many we have right now, but I think for online, we have participants who registered across the world, from Africa, from the United States, from Asia, Malaysia, from the Philippines, from Greece, and we would like to welcome all of them. And for this session, we will have two main speakers. We have Dr. Teresina Fernandez, who is on the left of the screen. You can see she will be speaking from Dakar, Senegal. And we have Catherine Wangeshi, Ms. Catherine Wangeshi. She's on the right side of your screen, and she's be speaking from Nairobi. And my name is Bakri Diallo. I'm the head of the African Virtual University. We decided to talk about this team as part of what we call the AVU third e-learning day. Since 2008, 2007, actually 2008, we are trying to promote e-learning in Africa. And what we are doing today is hands-on, so that not only we can allow participants to connect across the world, but for many of us who have never seen an e-learning platform, how a live session works, that will be also an opportunity for all of us to see. I will start by briefly introducing the AVU. The way this system works is that all the people connected through and online will see exactly what is on the screen. So they will see the presentation, they will hear what we are saying, they can see us, and I think part of the public. Declan can turn the mic to show who is here. I'm going to introduce the AVU briefly, and then Catherine Wangeshi will talk about the collaborative approach to producing and using OER and the experience of the AVU. And we will have Dr. Teresina Fernandez talking about the role of the AVU office in this program, developing math and science program across 10 African countries. And then I will present at the end, as just a concluding remark, I will introduce to you our portal, Open Education portal, where actually we have stored hundreds of courses in math and science that you can visit freely. The brief introduction to AVU. The AVU is a Pan-African organization. It was a World Bank project established in 1997, and then it became a Pan-African organization, meaning that it's now intergovernmental. The chart of AVU is signed by African states. And our mandate is to contribute to significantly increase access to quality higher education through the innovative use of information technology and communication. That is the heart of what we do. We have the biggest e-learning network in Africa. Actually, our network has succeeded more than 60 and across 27 countries. And what AVU has done since 1997 through different programs, 40,000 Africans were trained through using this kind of technology. And I would like to recognize many faces that I know in this room, from TESA, and one of our partner institutions in Mali is here as well, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are connected to AVU that are in this room. And if someone asks me what is our biggest strength in Africa, I would say it's working beyond technological, linguistic, and physical barriers in Africa. If you want to know more about the AVU, then you can visit, you can see us. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, and we also have an RSS feed. You can follow us and see what is the latest on AVU through social media. This is briefly our presence in Africa. The countries AVU actually covered in Africa since the inception of AVU. As you can see, we are mostly we have covered most of Africa except of North Africa up to now, in South Africa. But I see that, for instance, this website is being accessed in South Africa. So, but we do not have a formal relationship with institutions in South Africa. We are talking about open education resources. Just to give you a brief background before my colleague speak from Nairobi, the AVU started developing an open education resource strategy in 2005. It was a comprehensive policy document on how AVU and its partners will move toward developing open education resources. We were able to actually implement that strategy, and that's the results we are going to talk today about. But what AVU is doing through this conceptual framework is to create OER, organize OER, disseminate OER, and then using OER. And we are going to talk about all these aspects today. So without a further delay, I would let my colleague Catherine Wangeshi introduce to you the project through which the AVU OER materials were developed. It was a multinational project. We must recognize our sponsors, funded by the African Development Bank. It was about an $8 million project that ended last February. So Catherine is going to talk about this project. And Catherine, over to you. Let me introduce first Catherine. Catherine is working for AVU, has been working for AVU since 2004, and she was the manager of the project, this African Development Multinational Project that concluded last February, and currently her position at AVU is she's the manager of our project and business services. Catherine?
Thank you, Bakri. I take this opportunity to send out a warm welcome from Nairobi to all the participants of this webinar. Without further ado, I'll go straight to the presentation. Dr. Diallo has talked about the project within which the teacher education open education resources were hosted, and this was a project that was started in 2005. It was supported by the African Development Bank to the tune of more than $7 million. The beneficiary institutions also contributed in terms of staff and also works. We also had the contribution of the AVU into the project, which comes to about right about the $8 million that Dr. Diallo has talked about. There was also support from UNDP Somalia for the participation of more Somalia institutions, which I'll come to later. The teacher education program, or the open education resources produced in the program, were actually one of the components of the project. It was a wider project that had 4 components. The 4 components included the establishment of open distance and e-learning centers. These were state-of-the-art centers established in 10 of the countries that are funded in, or were funded in this project. These centers have computers and connectivity. And the other component of the project is an AVU capacity enhancement program, which we christened ASEP. This was a support to the open distance and e-learning centers in terms of building capacities to the academics in the institutions so that they are able to use the open distance and e-learning centers for the design, development, and delivery of open distance and e-learning programs. This program had three main areas. The skills imparted included one, the materials development for all open distance and e-learning programs. There was delivery and technology for open distance and e-learning centers as a second stream. And the third stream was management and financing of open distance and e-learning. This last component was geared towards making the programs or the audio centers and all the programs involved in the project to be as sustainable as possible. We had also a gender mainstreaming component, which is the fourth component. This component involved sensitizing institutions in terms of balancing gender in the management of the institutions, as well as also in the AVU. Okay, do you have a comment?
Yes, can you use the PowerPoint? Can you manage it on your side?
Oh, let me see. Where is that? Oh, yes, I could do that. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, that's where we are. That is the fourth component is the gender mainstreaming, and I said it involved sensitizing the institutions as well as the AVU itself in terms of gender mainstreaming in the institutions. There was also a major component of awarding scholarships to especially women students to access math and science courses. The scholarship program was also extended to other disadvantaged groups. The slide right there shows the institutions that and the countries that were involved in the project. These were countries that were picked by the donor, the African Development Bank. The AVU got involved in a process of selecting the institutions, and this was done competitively through a development of a criteria within which all universities that expressed interest in participation in the project were actually evaluated. We encouraged all universities in each of the countries to express their interest. The AVU went into a process of evaluating these universities against a criteria that was designed. And between the AVU, the results of the criteria and the ministries of education were able to pick a university in each of the countries. And you can see right there that in Kenya, we have the University of Nairobi. In Uganda, there was Chambo University. In Tanzania, where you are, we have the Open University of Tanzania. In Ethiopia, there was JIMA. Mozambique was the Universidade Pedagogica. In Zambia, University of Zambia. Zimbabwe, University of Zimbabwe. In Somalia, we have Ahmad University, which was funded by the African Development Bank funds. But we have the other two abbreviated is East African University and the University of Hargeisa. These were funded by the extra funding that I talked about from UNDP Somalia. In Madagascar, we have Université d'Antananarivo, and in Senegal, we had Université Cheikh Anta Diop. You will notice from the list of institutions and countries that the program or the funding and the implementation of the project cut across all the language divides of Africa, that is the Francophone, the Anglophone, and the Lusophone countries. And this presented challenges that we'll talk about a little later. That's a graphical or a map representation of the reach of the countries or the projects involved in the countries. You will notice that most of them are to the east and central and south, but they Senegal to the very east, or I mean the very west of Africa. That was because the original country that was involved in the project was Djibouti, but halfway through, due to challenges that we'll talk about a little later, we were able to propose that this be changed over to Senegal. That slide there shows a sample open distance and e-learning center with the computers and furniture, audiovisual equipment, and also backup power. One of the challenges of Africa is not just connectivity, but also keeping power or electricity going for the centers to run. So the generators were some of the equipment supplied to the centers, audiovisual equipment, computers, and furniture, as well as connectivity as a service. I will now go to the teacher education program where the OERs are based, and this is the teacher education program is dubbed the AVU ICT Integrated Teacher Education Program for Maths and Sciences. The objective of this program was to improve the quality of teaching and learning in schools through the use of ICTs. It was assumed, or it is still assumed, that ICTs would improve or are improving the experiences in teaching and learning in the classroom. And therefore, it was important that this becomes one of the objectives of the program. The other objective is related to the quantity of math and science teachers. So the program hoped to increase the number of math and science teachers and also ICT basic skills teachers in the schools, in secondary schools and also in primary schools. There was also the aspect of developing and promoting research in teacher education through the process of this curriculum reform and development of this program. The program also, by virtue of the fact that it cut across many countries, was aimed at establishing and strengthening the relevant partnerships with other teacher education initiatives in Africa, as well as also cross-border cooperations between the various countries that participated in the program. What was the process used? The process that was used in the development of this OERs was that we got involved in, we invited all the 10 institutions to form, appoint senior management staff of the institutions to form the Teacher Education Advisory Committee. This Teacher Education Advisory Committee involved the deputy vice chancellors. In some countries they're called deputy rectors, in some countries they're deputy presidents in academic, who were to be part of or to form the Teacher Advisory Committee. This committee met every two years, every twice in a year. And the rector of the AVU and the VC, the vice chancellors of the universities or rectors or presidents presided over, or the committee reported to them. This was to be the governing body of the teacher education program in itself. The first activity that the AVU got involved in was a policy and curriculum conceptualization process for the teacher education program. This process involved coming up with policies that would guide the teacher education program going forward. And this involved policies related to, give me 1 second. One of the things I'll have to mention before we get there is the fact that in the development of the OERs, the teacher education OERs, the AVU adopted a collaborative strategy. And this strategy meant that all the participating institutions and countries were involved in every step of the program development and delivery. To this effect, the first activity that I've just mentioned, the policy and curriculum conceptualization, invited into a workshop environment all representations from the 10 African countries. At national level, we invited the representatives from the Ministry of Education and also the head of National Union of Teachers or their equivalent in each of the countries. At the partner institution level, there was the Dean of the Faculty of Education, the head of distance education in the country or their equivalent, or other persons or who are key to distance education or teacher education in those countries. Others invited in this workshop, the first workshop, were representatives from strategic partners like NEPAD, the African Development Bank, who are funders, Open University of the UK, Commonwealth of Learning, the UNESCO ICPA. We also invited other renowned persons who are experts in teacher education and also in ICT integration across borders, not just from Africa. The outcomes of this activity was that amongst this group of people, they developed policies that were centered around the program design, that is including the program components. So this was agreed upon in the very first activity of the program. There was also the policies around the program development. This included how is the curriculum going to be designed, the process of that, and also the process of content development. This was agreed upon in this first meeting. They also agreed on the delivery framework, what delivery model are the institutions going to use, and we recognize the need to take each country or each participating institution case by case, because some had advanced distance education policies than others, and therefore that was taken into consideration. There was also policies on accreditation and award levels, what capacity enhancement was needed in the participating institutions for this program to be implemented, and also the roles and responsibilities of the various players in both the partner institutions and at the country level, as well as the African Virtual University. This workshop also developed a collaboration framework. How are they going to work together? Is it going to be virtually? Is it going to be physical meetings? And this was worked out during the very first workshop. The workshop also was able to develop a policy on an action plan for at both consortium level, that is all the countries together, and at the country level. At the end of the activity or the workshop, a policy document was produced. This policy document can cut across other programs, and therefore we say at the AVU that it is one of the outputs of the project or the program implementation, because it forms a policy document that can be used beyond the teacher education program that just ended. From that point forward, we moved to curriculum design. Again, we used a collaborative strategy. The participating institutions came together, compared their curricula for the maths, physics, chemistry, biology, and ICT basic skills, that is basic computer science. And from this, they designed a curriculum for all the subjects. And this process involved subject matter experts that were referred to us by the institutions. We sent out letters with terms for the subject matter experts, and the institutions sent us the subject matter experts that would represent their own country. This was important for the process because it meant that that whatever each country agreed to as a design would be acceptable to the institutions, because the assumption was that they sent quality subject matter experts who would represent their own institutions for any decision making or way forward. This was a very tedious process and lengthy, because you can imagine we are talking about 3 languages, and therefore at some point we were forced to separate the two. The Mozambique, the Portuguese-speaking participating institution, which was only one, that is the Universidade Pedagógica in Mozambique, was able to participate with the Anglophone, the English-speaking countries. But the French, given the basic differences in the education system, it was a challenge to marry the two other points. So we had 2 separate workshops or processes for Anglophone, Lusophone, and another one for the another one for the Francophone countries. And at some point between the curriculum design and content development, we were able to marry the two. So we ended up with one curriculum that was agreed upon. Following that was the content development process. Again, we asked the participating institutions to send experts in the various subjects. We engaged a materials development process person who was coordinating the whole process, and also ICT consultants for every of those subject areas. Therefore, we had an ICT consultant for biology, ICT integration consultant for biology. This person needed to have both ICT integration expertise and also expertise in the subject matter itself. This was searched widely. It was a process that took longer than we had actually allocated time for, because our strategy at the time was to
Hello, Catherine.
To use as much as possible African academics, but it was obvious that
yes, you have about 5 minutes left. Yes, I said you have about 5 minutes left. Okay.
Oh. Okay, I'll go through this very fast. And then, okay, that's fine. The content development process was a collaborative strategy that I said, and it also involved peer reviewing from different institutions. Like, for example, if the Open University of Tanzania produced a module in maths, then it wouldn't be a person from the Open University of Tanzania to peer review it. We picked another academic from another institution. There was also a parallel process of developing a quality assurance framework that guided the program development and delivery. At the end of the development process, with the 73 modules or 219 modules in all the 3 languages that we actually produced, we established a program team that from each of the institutions, there was a team for biology, there's a team for physics, chemistry, and ICT basic skills, and which interacted across the institutions that participated. And this led to the development of, or the establishment of, a teacher education virtual consortium. This was some sort of a community of practice among us teacher education experts in the subjects that we have talked about. We also carried out a pilot study to test the materials, the quality of the materials, that was done in 3 countries that were participated in the program, and this was Somalia, Kenya, and also Senegal. There was also the process that was the last activity in the program was the publishing of the resources on OER. We developed a portal for the open education resources, and this is where all the resources have been hosted. I think I would go through the achievement slide, but just to be very fast, go down through it, is that I've talked about policy that was developed in the first activity, a quality assurance framework, 219 modules of math, physics, and chemistry have been developed. The modules are structured into BEd, Bachelors of Education courses, and also into diploma and certificate programs that the participating institutions can use. We used open educational resources to develop the content, and that became one of the challenges in the development process, and also managed to release the content to an open educational resources portal. We had program coordination teams in each of the participating countries that I mentioned. Throughout the program development, we have trained 459 academics who are involved in the various stages of the program development. We established an AVU learning management system based on Moodle, and that is what we are using as a delivery platform for e-learning. Established a community of practice that I've talked about as the virtual consortium, and the testing has been done. We have launched this program in all the 10 countries, and the 10 countries are using the materials for the same. In general, by January of 2011, we have trained 4,000 students using these materials that have been developed. That slide there describes the process that I've just gone through, the collaboration that we use. I'm not going to go through it in details, but it just illustrates that the 10 countries came together with their own curriculum. It was harmonized and odelified. The word odelified there means is integrating ICTs through a template that was agreed upon. And now what we are in the process of in-country delivery of the program. I won't go to the materials development process. That slide there indicates that process that I just described before. What are the lessons that we have learned? We have learned that definitely collaboration is a good strategy. It has its own downside in terms of taking time to bring all the participants to board, but it has yielded very good results in terms of acceptability and quality. Working across the three-language divide and different education system was a challenge rather, but it just meant that we used more time to be able to put everybody on board. We had challenges of social political environments in the various countries that we're involved in, from Djibouti that I mentioned before had to fall out because of some internal issues between the Ministry of Education and the participating institution. We had challenges in Kenya at one point, we had challenges in Somalia, and some of the other countries. But those have just been we're able to address some of the challenges by involving other strategies. One of the other very important challenges that I'm going to talk about, because it's related to OER, is the fact that initially it was very hard to convince authors, academics from the institutions, that their resources would be open educational resources. As far as they were concerned, being that it was a new movement, they were still, most of the academics were still in the era of financial or economic gain from any authoring process. But we assured them that even if there will not be any economic gain, there will be social gain in terms of the authors will always be acknowledged every time we use the materials. And so that became a challenge, but eventually we were able to have them sign off on the Creative Commons licensing. And of course, the building of the OER portal, they had a lot of challenges in terms of human resources that we couldn't find within Africa. And the publishing of the same in 3 languages became a challenge in terms of time taken to upload all these modules onto the OER platform. Funding, of course, also requires institutional support that the AVU did not have at the time, but the African Development Bank funding came through to support this. And I don't know, Bakri, if we want to do questions here or later.
So what we'll try to do is that if you have questions, we will keep the question until the end of the session. Can everyone hear me? I'm saying if you have questions, we'll take the questions at the end of the session. I see we have about 15 people that are online, so that would be the same. If you have questions, we will open questions after the end of the presentations. Right now we are going to move, thank you very much, Catherine. We are going to move to Dakar, where we have our regional office. The regional office in Dakar deals mostly with our West African partners and with Francophone countries. And the Dakar office, the AVU Dakar office, played an important role. Tessa, you'll have to turn off your speaker for now. And the Dakar office has been instrumental in implementing this program in the south of the world. So what Dr. Teresina is going to talk about is the role of the Dakar. And in general, she will introduce the Dakar office, but she would mostly speak about the role of the Dakar office in developing the OER materials. Tessa, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Diallo. Can you hear me correctly?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my intervention here will be brief. I'll be talking mostly, like as Dr. Diallo just said, about the AVU regional office in Dakar, Senegal, and its role in this project. So about the AVU Dakar office, it's a regional office which plays a strategic role in the collaboration with Francophone partners since its creation in 2005. It was created mainly to coordinate all the activities between Francophone countries and the headquarters in Nairobi. And more generally, the Dakar office works with countries from West and Central Africa. Also, we provide support to students, to Francophone students and partners institutions. We work to strengthen and develop institutional partnerships with international organizations such as UNESCO, USAID, the West African Economic and Monetary Union, etc. And also, we share experiences and best practices and lessons learned from our projects and programs in workshops in international conference in Francophone or Anglophone countries. For example, lastly, we've been invited and we have been participating in workshops on open educational resources by the IAUF on March 2009. Also, more recently, a workshop on OERs by the UNESCO Bamako office last year. And just this year in April, we have been participating in 2 UNESCO conferences on teacher education in Sub-Saharan Africa, and impacted which is about the teacher education, and we have been presenting the use of OER in teacher education by the AVU. So the Dakar office role in this project, as mainly to support the AVU headquarters in the organization of the several workshops and activities for the Francophone country. And also, Catherine talked about having 2 workshops, one for the Francophone country. One was in Senegal, so we have been involved in the organization and the logistics, and also in the participation of this workshop. We have been publicizing the AVU OER portal to the Francophone public and the Francophone partner institution. And also we have been publicizing the portal and sharing best practices, like I just said, at workshops and conferences. But the most important part of our role has been using and disseminating the OER content through programs we've been developing. So those programs, Catherine talked about them, which are the ICT integration and math and science programs. So there are 2 programs, ICT basic skills and ICT integration and math and science.
Tessa, we are having.
Yes.
Tessa, we are having problem with the audio.
Should I speak louder?
Closer to your mic, maybe.
Okay. Is it better? Is it better like that?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying is that the most important part of a role in the OER project was to develop certificate in ICT integration in math and science.
Yes, sir, we have a problem. We have a problem. So I will just go through your slides and conclude, because we cannot hear you from here.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry.
What I was trying to say is through this OER program, now what are we doing with it? We have programs that are running in now 10 countries. In terms of Bachelor of Education, we have our partner in this country is Open University of Tanzania. So they are using this material we developed together to offer their Bachelor of Education in Mathematics and Chemistry and Physics and in Biology. But there are also certificate programs. I met with Dr. Mberte, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Tanzania. They started a nationwide training of teachers to upgrade their skills in ICT in education. The first cohort graduated. I saw that actually in the news yesterday, and it is a successful program. The same program is being offered in Kenya, in Senegal, in Zambia, and in Uganda. And what we do with those countries, they can go to our website. We have the material that are open educational resources. They download it, they adapt it. The instructors use that as actually the basis of their material. And then the programs are co-accredited by the AVU, for instance, with Open University of Tanzania here. In Kenya, that's the AVU with the University of Nairobi. In Senegal, we have AVU and University of Cheikh Anta Diop. So the point we are trying to make here is when we talk about OER, it's vague for a lot of people. And how to use OER is also vague. But the experience of AVU we have wanted to share with you is you can develop OER that are quality, that is being used in Africa to make a difference, and they are still open. And the next, actually, what I'm going to conclude with is now maybe the most interesting part for me, what we are doing online with this material. We have built this open educational resource site. The name is OER at AVU. You can Google it and find it, where now you will find the 219 modules we developed with the 12 countries. I don't want to go through the process of developing this. It was very hard, but that's not the point. The point is here now. This is the website. That's what it looks like. If you look at closely, we wanted something called African. So we have a team that was wonderful, and even the banner is like fabric from Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, that side. So we really wanted something to make it authentic African. And I would like to thank Declan Otaro. He's the head of the ICT department at AVU, and all his colleagues. The good work. I like this site. Actually, the look. It feels like this is Africa. And what we have here is we have organized the material into communities, language groups. You have 3 main languages in here. We have French, Portuguese, and English. They are all accessible in these 3 languages. The next slides. We start now. We are monitoring. We launched this site in January 2011. It's very new, and Declan is monitoring. We have Google Analytics to see who is using actually the site. So what we have seen for now in terms of numbers is there are 147,000 pages that have been viewed. And I asked Declan, how it is possible? Who is actually interested in this? Because we don't know how people, it's just online. And then when we look at closely, we see that if you look at the broad view, meaning the resources, they were, Declan, you correct me if 75,000, meaning that people may have looked at the website, but the materials was viewed 75,000 times. We're saying, well, who is using it? Then I asked him to set Google Analytics. That's where the surprise came. Because once that happened and he gave me the report, we find out that, for instance, in 1 month we had 3,000 visitors from 114 countries. I'm saying, okay, 114 countries, but in Africa we have 54 countries. How come we have 114 countries? And then we look at the African countries, we have 38 countries that are accessing the materials. But if you look at the presentation of Catherine, this program is actually publicized in 10 countries. 10 countries were using it. So it means that now, outside this, the impact of the project has gone beyond our expectation, because not only the project is over, we have closed the project, but more countries are coming and using the materials. And we look at closely, and we found out that these materials are being used in Somalia, DRC, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Egypt, Tunisia, and we know that they are all, we can call it, well, conflict or post-conflict zones. It's very interesting to see that these materials are being used in such countries. And the top 15 top African countries are Kenya, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Nigeria, Senegal, Uganda, South Africa, Ghana, Ethiopia, and Zambia. So we are trying just to understand and comprehend why this pattern, so that we can do more action, well, we can take more actions to make sure that more African countries are accessing this. But the most interesting part is we have 76 countries outside Africa using the materials. For me, I was just not expecting that at all. And actually, if you look at the first top 20 countries, the first is Brazil. Amazing. The second is the United States of America. The third is France. Kenya is the first African country, but there are only fourth in here. And then we have Portugal, India, Morocco, Canada, Algeria, Philippines, Tunisia, Nigeria, Belgium, and Senegal. Now, if you look at all the countries that are, well, we have UK, China, Japan, Portugal, Haiti, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, Qatar. So we do not know exactly what they are doing with it, but we can see that they are accessing the material. So this is new for us. It's new information. We need to digest it, to look at it. But our interest first is that we would like to have more African countries use it. That will be our strategy. I was in Boston 3 weeks ago, early May. I was invited at MIT at the OCWC conference. This is the World Global Conference on Open Course OER. The trend is now, we were developing this material for academics, but there are students out there who are browsing the web to find material to teach themselves. And when we look at our Google Analytics, the materials on AVU OER website are found through Google search. So we have not promoted this in Palestine. I've never been to Palestine. We have no contact in Palestine. So Haiti, the same thing. La Réunion. So we are just amazed on the diversity and of people that are using the resources. This is just about the Google Analytics. Again, the Google Analytics. I don't know if you can see this, it's too small. It's just showing actually that most of the traffic is driven through internet search and not through our own collaboration. Well, in the future, what we are wanting to do now, and we think that it was a fantastic project to be done in Africa, and by mostly people from African universities to work together, build the capacity, but also be able to develop something like that. We are looking at now using or expanding this experience into, we have done teacher education, computer science, food security, renewable energy, university pedagogy courses, peace and security programs. And for the AVU OER site itself, it's still new for us. We are managing it, and we want to make sure that access, that more people, especially in Africa, would have access, be aware about this website. So, well, for us, if you ask me what are the few key success factors of developing OER at AVU, I would say collaborative method, because it belongs to AVU and 10 other countries, and then we all agree that at the end we open it to all in the world. That was, I think, very good. Agreeing on policies, as you can see, we had countries from Mozambique, from Tanzania, from Senegal, different education systems, different policies, but to come together and work, when we present this, it looks easy, but the process is not easy. Resources respond to the need of the return participate. We need a lot of resources to do this, sharing with the rest of the world, and especially making the resources available in 3 languages. That's why we have such a traffic, because if you have a search in Portuguese, which are material. France is the second or third, because for your information, there are not a lot of materials OER in French and in Portuguese in the world. And I think that this is the last slide, I believe, of this. Thank you very much for your patience. We wanted to innovate, do something different from eLearning Africa, connect people through different parts of the world. Thank you for